2016, 2017, there was a company, a project called OneCoin. Who knows OneCoin? OneCoin. Uganda, it was a big deal in Uganda. It was a big deal in Nigeria. It was a big deal in Kenya. A lot of us lost all our savings. Fast forward, the reason why I didn't stop blockchain, it answered two questions for me. The first question was, as an African, you wake up and you look around and you don't see many opportunities. Your folks in Hong Kong, Singapore, Silicon Valley, in San Francisco, New York, or Germany, right? But you have highfalutin dreams. You want to be able to provide value. You want to be able to do a lot of things, but simply you don't have access. So what I saw the blockchain and having the privilege to work with a company called Huawei in Ghana for 3.5 years, there were a lot of things I could see with technology. Unfortunately, those opportunities were not so much available for us. And the blockchain answered those two questions for me. You see, Africa is 54 countries, right? So you meet everybody, oh, I'm from Kenya. But if you met an European and ask that European, oh, where are you from? The first thing they don't usually say, I'm from France or I'm from Germany. They say, I'm a European. But if you met an African, you ask, oh, where are you from? I'm from Nigeria. I'm from Ghana. I'm from South Africa. I'm from Kenya. We advance our individual countries more than being an African, right? And so the blockchain provided those two answers for me. The number one was access to global financial gateway, which was not possible before blockchain. So if you are in Ghana, for example, you have a border to Togo, Ivory Coast, Burkina Faso to the north, two other countries before Nigeria. But guess what? If you wanted to send $100 to your brother who may be schooling in Togo because you want to learn French, it was a nightmare. First of all, you go to the bank, and the bank have to send the money through Western Union somehow, transfer. It has to hit a bank in New York before it gets back to Togo, which is just 4 hours drive from Ghana. That experience never happened to anybody in Europe, at least in the last 20 years. But that has been our reality ever since I was born, and till blockchain came. But immediately blockchain came and crypto was the first tool on the blockchain. It solved that problem instantly. That's why even though I lost money, I delved deeper into the blockchain and asked another question. Okay, now we have financial inclusion. Now we can do financial intermediation. I can send money to somebody in China without the person knowing me. I can be able to send money to somebody in South Africa without going to the bank on my wallet. But what other thing can we do with the blockchain? Africa is the youngest continent today. The Chinese population is declining. It's kind of plateauing. Europe is plateauing. America, people are not giving birth as it used to be. Africa is 1.4 billion people. In less than 6,000 days from now, we are going to have 1 billion young people in Africa, median age of 18. More than India and China combined. Now, if you are doubting, ask more questions. Oh, blockchain, so what? Well, blockchain is a tool that has global philosophy, global inclusion, that you do not need permission from nobody, that, oh, we own the birthright or the patent, therefore you have to wait for everybody else to complete before we come in. Blockchain do not have that. There's a global inclusion from day one. But the next thing we need to ask is, if you all understand that blockchain do not have all the needed usage in the West, which is true, the question is, what exactly is blockchain solving in America? Do you think China will move away from their heavy investment in their financial tools that they have today, like WeChat? Move all the centralized system that they have today and say, oh, because blockchain is so nice a technology, let's use blockchain instantly. Do you think they will do that? They will not do that. Do you think, Europe will move out from SEPA instantly and say, oh, because blockchain is so fast, it's cheaper, let's forget our systems and use blockchain? They're not going to do that easily. But in Africa, just as we use mobile phone, we leapfrog. By 2000, there were more landline in New York than it was in the whole of Africa in 2000. Today, there are more mobile phones in Africa. People are using mobile phone in Africa than you have in New York. We leapfrogged. Not only that, it was Africa that, especially this beautiful country called Kenya, that Africans were able to innovate mobile number to make it bank account, and that you didn't need to go to bank to have bank account. Today, almost every Kenyan has M-Pesa account. I've been here, I'm using M-Pesa. I pay my bike with M-Pesa. I go to the bar, M-Pesa. I don't need to go to the bank. So Africa, we always leapfrog. we are going to leapfrog blockchain in such a manner and a way that the innovators of this technology will never see. We are talking about 1 billion users for blockchain, right? It's never going to happen in Europe. It's never going to happen in China. It's never going to happen in North America. It's going to happen in the global South, Africa. But the question is, what I see in a global conversation, I mean, I travel a lot, I do a lot of conferences, I go to a lot of conferences, and usually go and it's like, oh, we have the best technology. Yes. Oh, our technology is the best among all the other protocols. Yes. So what? I'm a developer person. My background is development. And I've read and understood that all the templates that we have used for Africa, oh, IMF, World Bank will say, oh, this is how we did it in Europe, this is how we did it in America, and you must copy the same template. It doesn't work. Real development doesn't come from top. Real development is grassroots. Micro, I believe in micro development than it is from the top. So if you indeed you have a good technology, and all you think is, oh, Africa has younger people, they are more useful, and that, let them use. No, it's going to work. My challenge to you is, if indeed blockchain is a need in Africa, and the global South, South America, part of South Asia, is really a need there. What we need to begin to, conversation that we need to be having now is, how do we develop that sector of the continent, that part of the continent with talent? Because you see, you don't have users until you have builders. There's no users until you have builders. And those builders are those that are going to use it and also expand it to other people. I'll give an example. In the last 5 years, what I've done, my first startup, I built the first startup called Digital Code in Nigeria. It was the first OTC in 2017. Within 3 months, I was able to trade Bitcoin over $3 million in 3 months. The fast forward in 2018, we built QBTX. Now, QBTX will give birth to many of these people that you see here. Yvonne was the first lady I employed in Kenya. She was just out of school, and today, look at what Yvonne is doing in Kenya. George, who led Binance expansion in East Africa. I remember on the 5th of August 2018 at Sankara Hotel in Nairobi, he came to my hotel, we sat, and I got him convinced that, hey, blockchain is the future. He joined my startup, and George was amazing. Juliana from Kenya, I had more than 10 people working with us in my startup. And today, when I look back, that startup didn't work because of regulations and talent. But I look back today, and I look front, I see Yvonne doing amazing thing, right? I see George expanded and doing great things, Brian, and so many of that. I call myself talent builder. So my challenge to you, if you're a protocol builder and protocol owner here, Africa is your market, yes. But that market is not going to expand until you support the builder or builders. If you don't develop the talent in Africa, where access to opportunities, like, for example, you go to Singapore, you can have more than 10 different talent houses or co-working spaces where, even if I don't have money, I can just go there, maybe buy a small cup of coffee and get access to internet. You don't have that in most parts of Africa. Kenya, so we have current devs, and then you have the lower part of Kenya. No, I'm not a privileged African. I built my life knowing that the only thing that makes sense is value. And the only thing I value understand is that your identity is tied to your credential. And your credential is tied to your integrity. And therefore, whatever you do, have a signature. And if you know, it's not the paper money that we have. It's the ability to empower other people that make us grow. So the question I have for you this afternoon, stop thinking about users in Africa, and let's start talking about builders in Africa. If you raise one person to become a builder, that person will raise 100 people. And that's the only way we can have 1 billion users. And my challenge to you is that start thinking about Africa for a long term. Africa is not where we have Silicon Valley. We don't have those infrastructure. We don't have infrastructure like we have in Singapore. And therefore, if you're looking to Africa, see where we are doing this today. You not have kind of experience in Europe, but you have it here. So you're going back with experience, and then begin to think about this way. How do I empower young people in universities in Kenya, in Nigeria, in Cameroon, in Ivory Coast, in Uganda, for them to actually understand this technology so they can use the technology to solve problems for their local people? The same way M-Pesa has included more than 40 million people in Kenya. The same way young people in Africa can solve the problem, understanding their nuances, local nuances. Because if you build a product from Silicon Valley, for example, and say, oh, we can onboard 1 billion people in Africa, it's not working because, you know what, many of us don't use heavy smartphones. How many of us are using an iPhone here in Africa? People are using small phones like itel. It doesn't have capacity. So before they can download your app, they have to either delete their WhatsApp, which is very difficult for them to delete their WhatsApp. And therefore, if you're thinking about a solution that can onboard billion people, you need to think about technology such as USSD. Who can build that one? It's that African young man because he understands his locality. And therefore, I advocate for micro app, not macro. Macro never work. It gets to the top, it gets to the middle, nobody cares about those down. But if you care so much about growth, if you care so much about advancement, impact, let's build from the ground up and develop that talent. Because that talent in its locality will be able to add more people in its locality. And that's how we can see exponential growth. I believe blockchain is a technology that belongs to Africa. It's a need here. It's just a nice thing to have in the West. And if you need to have that conversation, let's have a conversation that empowers. Seek to really, really make this technology become global, become adoptable, and everybody is happy about it. I don't develop, but I believe that young people in this continent are the most greatest asset we have. And if you can develop them, give them the tool that they need, I tell you in 5 years, we'll have billion users because Africans are excited when they see that things can empower them. Today, blockchain is empowering a lot of people. There's a gentleman behind me, he's called Ayo. He started Web3 Bridge with no support. Today, he has trained more than 150 software engineers, and his community are the highest contributor to StackNet. Did you hear that? His community is the highest contributor to StackNet development.